On episode 7 of Chit Chat, we finally get to explore the Star Wars Imperial Assault app. We talk about all the video games we've ever played in the Star Wars universe, and of course save some time to nerd out on The Last Jedi. Welcome back to episode 7 of Chit Chat, not to be confused with episode 7, The Force Awakens, but we are going to be talking about all things Star Wars. Board games, video games, anything we want to. Yeah, of course the movies. Of course the movies. As always, we've got Ryan down on the end, followed by Gary, me, and Jeremy here. So, Star Wars. Let's talk about board games first because, after all, we are a board game channel.
Yeah.
What Star Wars board games have you even played? Because I haven't played many.
I've played a lot of Star Wars board games.
Let's do the list. Run down some of them.
Oh my gosh. Well, like Epic Duels.
I've never even heard of that.
Star Wars collectible card game. Destiny, the new dice game. Rebellion. Queen's Gambit. Star Wars Risk. Does that count?
It does.
Sure.
Because that actually adapted.
Star Wars Monopoly, maybe not.
I actually have Star Wars Monopoly as well. Imperial Assault, definitely.
Yeah, I've played Imperial Assault. Am I the only one here who's ever played the original 1977?
We mentioned that in one of our episodes, and I went back and looked at that. It looks like
it's awful.
Dog crap.
Oh,
it looks awful.
It's a classic licensed board game.
Was it like Escape from the Death Star?
That's it.
I think it is called Escape from the Death Star. It has my least favorite piece in all of board games, the little fold-over standees for characters. I think that might have been the game that started my loathing history of those types of components. But I played that. I've played Imperial Assault, but I've not played Rebellion, like one of the newer ones. I've played a little Imperial Assault. That's about it for the new stuff. What about you?
Well, what's your favorite first? Like, out of all the Star Wars games
I don't know
about.
What do you like the most? I mean, I don't know about favorite, but the one I've played the most is Epic Duels, honestly, because this was when I got to college. My only experience with board games was like Catan. So a buddy of mine in college broke out Epic Duels right when it first came out. He went crazy. He bought everything for it. And this game is I don't know if you've ever played it. It's like arena-style combat. You choose 2 characters. And there wasn't anything out like it really at the time.
It has the 3 like miniatures.
Yeah, and they all have the miniatures. They all have power cards, and you're basically moving around a grid, shooting at each other.
I played that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we just would play game after game after game, and that's kind of what got me into more of.
But all the combat in that game is dice.
It's all
right?
dice, but you have your power cards, which can mitigate that a little bit.
So it was sort of a precursor style game to the HeroClix wave, right? Like
out
of the box miniatures game.
Right. It was a lot of fun. I mean, basically, we just it scratched an itch that I didn't know was there at the time.
Yeah.
What about you, Gary?
Well, I guess Rebellion, and that's my favorite.
Yeah.
We played that multiple times, but I haven't got to play the expansion yet, so still need to try that. Of course, Destiny, which came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
True.
And still wondering, I haven't been playing that in a while, but is that even still going strong?
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, I think it's typical of most of the FFG games. They have a huge following right at the beginning, and then it starts to tailor off, and they introduce some other
well, they've kind of introduced a little more for Destiny, but more like entry-level stuff, I think, to get people into
and
it.
That's right. They just had that 2-player starter kit.
The 2-player starter kit, right.
Yeah, it's that was on Force Friday, right? That they introduced that. Yeah, I played a little Destiny. I really like it, but it's not the kind. I usually try to stay away from those things that are going to be a huge commitment, and I'll lose myself
for your wallet as well.
Like
that's the problem. It's super approachable. It's super easy to play and for people to get into it, but it's just a time sink and it's a huge money sink.
Well, especially for some reason with Destiny, sets started coming out so fast it actually got really difficult to keep up with it.
Well, even at like twice a year, it's still a giant. If you want to buy all the cards, you have to go through those blister packs, and you're probably opening a case, and you're looking at $500, $600 investment on the chance that you may get a full set.
Right.
That's not even a full playable set. With some of these cards, you're going to need 2 of the cards. So as I said, it's expensive.
Right.
If you want to get into it deep and be competitive.
And that's the great thing about the game.
You can get the starter set and have fun.
Absolutely. That's the great thing about the game. It's so approachable, so easy to play, and you can play competitively with just a small
and you don't get a lot. You don't get a lot more out of it by spending that much money. Like you
Only
can,
if you want to be competitive.
If you want to be, if you want to be competitive, but if you're just playing to have fun,
sure.
The cards they give you in that 2-player starter kit are. you're gonna have just as much fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Playing with them.
Absolutely.
Super quick game too.
Yeah.
What about
10,
you?
15
Do
minutes.
you have a favorite board game? in the
Well,
Star
you know,
Wars
when
universe?
just talking about Star Wars in general, there's so many good games. We mentioned Rebellion. We mentioned an old game called Queen's Gambit. It's not the best game in the world, but it's still a highly desirable game because it's got this really unique player board on it, and it has 2 other boards that you're doing all these different things at once. It's just a very cool Star Wars game. My favorite Star Wars game, it's hard to pick. It's either Rebellion or the Decipher Star Wars LCG. This was from years ago.
CCG back then.
CCG back then, absolutely. When Decipher owned the license to it. That game is absolutely phenomenal. It's still one of my favorite games of all time.
Really?
It's so hard to find now. I mean,
I loved it. I played it. I
it's
played a lot of that
fantastic.
too.
Yeah. And they came out with another one, an LCG, not LCG, but a Lord of the Rings one that had kind of the same concept. But those series, both of those 2 games are fantastic. And it being a Star Wars game.
Yeah, I need to bring over my old deck sometime and let you play. It's just cool the way it plays
is
out
awesome.
over a location row, and you move your characters back and forth.
It
And
gives you that epic Star Wars feel, just like what Rebellion
Yeah.
would do for people.
it definitely felt like you were playing a Star Wars scene for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one for me, and it definitely doesn't give a big epic feel, is Loop and Chewie. I'm just kidding. Have you guys seen Loop and
I
Chewie?
love
Yeah.
You have
Yeah,
Loop
I
and
have
Chewie?
Loop and Chewie.
That's hilarious.
It's actually fun.
What do you do in it? I've never
You
even
basically slam. Well, you know, you got Loop and Chewie. He's going around.
in the Falcon.
It is. Well,
Okay.
it is a Falcon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're just trying to pick up Star Troopers as they come around aboard, and you hit your thing, and he drops down
Have
and
you
tries to
seen
pick
this?
it up.
Well, it's based off Loop and Louie, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
another
yeah.
classic game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be serious, I haven't played too many. So, like Imperial Assault would probably be my favorite, but it will likely easily become my favorite.
Let's
Once
talk
the
about
app
Imperial
comes out.
Assault. So just a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago, they finally announced the app
Yeah.
for the game. Now, this was originally teased at Gen Con 2 years ago, so it's been quite some time. I had a really brief conversation with Corey, who works at FFG at Gen Con this year, and he said, in no small terms, he said, expect something really special with this. And we've already seen some screenshots, but we don't know at this point what the app is truly going to bring to the table. I've read through all the rules, and I understand the gameplay, but it doesn't tell you specifically what the app looks like, what kind of animations are used in it, how everything works together with all the expansions that you see and how those are filtered into the game, and what you truly need to be able to play the app.
It does sound like, from what we've read, it sounds like the app doesn't have the campaign content from all of the existing pieces.
Right.
It has an all new campaign.
Yep.
So you're going to be, all you need to play it, in fact, is just the base set.
Right.
You can play it with all the other pieces, but what that does, kind of like Mansions of Madness, I think, is other figures might come into play. There might be other enemies that pop up into the campaign because
Right.
the ones that they just cycle in, the grunts and stuff that
Right,
you have
right.
to take out. I don't know if it's going to become more robust than that, but it
Right.
sounds like it's a bit of a, not standalone, but it's not like you can play through all of this campaign content with the app.
No, but
Not currently.
Let's talk
Not
about that
currently.
for a second, because they have a storyline that runs through all of those campaigns. That
Currently.
each was currently. So the sole fact, and I don't want to get anybody like too excited right now,
Yeah.
but the sole fact that they're coming out with a new campaign that's not that one makes me hopeful that maybe this is a canon story
Well,
that kind of
That's
fills
very
in.
interesting. That's very interesting.
I think, pure speculation at this point, everybody, but I think that that's probably accurate.
I would
And
I would
think
love
that's
that.
one of the things, my guess has been, that's taken them as long as it has to get this thing done, is because I get the sense, I don't know if what you guys think, but Disney and Lucasfilm seem like everything they're putting out now is canon, right? They don't.
Yeah.
It is.
All the
Yeah.
video
They don't
games
want
are
to put
canon, yeah.
anything out there that's not within the
Right.
canon. They kind of scrubbed a couple years ago, and now it's this. Does anyone know, are these in canon?
No,
Are they-
not.
No,
they're-
I don't
they're-
think those are, no.
So these aren't in
Legacy
canon,
stuff.
and my guess is that this app is going to be canon, and that's what they're going to want to try to do.
Which it could be, but you have to remember that the heroes in the game that you're actually utilizing aren't currently canon. The characters you're interacting with are canon. So you'll meet Boba Fett, you'll meet Jabba, you'll meet the heroes Luke and Leia. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I don't think they can write those people into the canon,
Right.
those generic heroes they're
No.
using now. But the adventures that you go on could be anybody, so to speak. They could be any hero, but you could be meeting those people and retelling stories that may have happened in the past. So It's a very
Yeah.
fine
What
line.
do you
of
think
whether
maybe
that's
the app
true or
might
not.
incorporate some sort of cinematic type?
That's what
right.
I think. Well, that would be fantastic.
And that would be awesome.
Well,
What
there's
do
a
you
lot
mean?
of
Like, okay, you're playing the video game, and you get those pauses where there's some cinematic
Oh, that would be
experiences.
fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
where the canon part comes in
That
to
would
fill
be
in
cool.
those storylines. Like, oh wow, I'm really into the story
depending
now.
on when this is set, there's a huge amount of time between episodes 4 and 5 that we don't see on camera. And actually, that's a huge part of Last Jedi is them going back to, and this spoilers. Sorry, this is a Star Wars episode. A huge part of Last Jedi is them going back and reopening an old rebellion base that was founded and abandoned during that time between
It's true. Yeah.
between episodes 4 and 5. So who knows how much room there is to tell stories in that couple
They could
year
definitely
time
borrow
time
from
frame.
that material and create future scenarios for that. Absolutely. I don't know if they're going to go back and recreate all the current scenarios because each of these comes with their own scenario right now. That's a lot of programming for these people. I feel like at the start they're going to create brand new scenarios for people. Again, none of us have touched the app, so we don't know what that's going to
Right.
look like. All we know is that currently it plays from the base game. We do know that the map tiles from all of these sets can be used. So it could pull from different map tiles, depending upon the enemies you have, and even the heroes. Each of these different boxes come with unique heroes. So you could start the whole campaign with a different hero if you so
Yeah, I
wish.
think
wow.
the app would utilize every hero that's been released if you want
And
to,
the gear
right?
that they could possibly introduce. You know, these sets come with different sets of gear and different sets
Which
of
none
rewards
of that
for
would
them.
super impact the story that was being told.
No.
Yeah.
But it adds a cool layer of modularity.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
adds depth to the game.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't said, if you're not familiar with Imperial Assault, the cool thing about this app in general is the fact that you're going to be able to play this game cooperatively completely. Like if you didn't know, in case you didn't know, Imperial Assault is a one versus many game.
Yeah.
And this app, the big thing here is that you're going to be able to play together against the computer, just like in Mansions of Madness.
They took away the dungeon master
which is
role.
We kind of glossed over that because we've all taken
Yeah.
that for granted, but that is the biggest single reason
That's
why
the
I'm excited about
setup and
this.
the- yeah.
because I don't have to play that role, and I can play. Four of us can sit down and we're all working together.
Yeah, I mean that's important for us, especially for people that don't like to set up the game. I mean, we've played through Imperial Assault. I think we've played through some of it.
Couple, yeah.
Have you guys played it at
I
all?
have not played it yet.
Okay, so
a
what
good
it
amount of the
does
base.
though, whoever is the Imperial player, it requires them to set up the game themselves. The Rebel players can't set it up because there's secrets that they're hiding from the people. But it just requires someone to do that every single time by
And it's an
themselves.
investment.
It's an investment of time, a huge investment of
Yeah.
time. Plus, they have to read through that scenario each time. Now you just set it up. And
go.
the great thing too is just like Mansions is you have all these doors too, and when you open the door, you don't know what's behind them.
Yeah.
When you played the original game, they laid out the entire thing, so you can say, well, let's go into these rooms. Yeah, we don't know what's behind them, but we know the rooms are there, and the setup of those
And
rooms.
that's
Now
cool.
you have no
that's
idea.
cool in Mansions
Right.
of Madness because but you already kind of know what you're going to get in Mansions of Madness. But in Imperial Assault, you have you could open a door to like an ATST walker shooting down at you, or like a group of stormtroopers, or it could just be like a
it's-
weapons.
That feeling of discovery is huge for me in any
Yeah,
type
absolutely.
of game.
Yeah, it
like
does a
I
lot
love
in
it when a
Mansions. It's
game
crazy.
has the feeling of discovery. And like you said, when the map's on the table, you find yourself right at the beginning going, "Oh, I see what we're going to have to face."
Yeah.
And it really changes. I mean, it doesn't ruin it, but it's a much more
you
robust
see
experience.
The Imperial player has all of his characters laid out in front of him, so you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who's
Boba
coming
Fett.
up.
Okay, Boba Fett's going to be in this one.
Yeah.
So
and that's the great thing, and I hope they incorporate this into the app, is once you buy all these other expansions, you then have the access to those characters. So if you play with the base game, you may be only fighting Stormtroopers and Imperial Guards, but if you play it with all the expansions, now Boba Fett may show up.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
That could be really cool.
The other game I want to talk about briefly, because there's a lot of Star Wars games. One that's on the horizon, and none of us here are miniatures players, but Legion's coming out.
yeah.
too.
Legion
Yeah.
looks
And it
so
I
looks
might become
really
a
cool.
miniatures player to play Legion. Seriously, that's the one that makes me want to bite the bullet and really try something like that. Because that's a world that I have not... I've always watched that world. When you
Yeah.
go to a game store,
They're
those
always
guys
there.
are set up with Warhammer or whatever they're playing, and you're like, oh, that looks really cool. It's like kids playing with toys.
Right.
And then when you add Star Wars to it, it's like
the
I
whole
don't know.
theme.
We
Yeah.
have to try it. Like
We
all
have
of
to
us
try
have
it.
to
I'll be
buy
getting
some portion of it and try that.
Yeah, I've been waiting for one. I buy into these miniatures games. Like I bought a starter set for War Machine. I bought a starter set for the Rune Wars miniatures game that came out earlier this year. And none of them have just like really
The
sucked
gameplay
me
on
in.
them.
Yeah, well, just I don't know what it is. And the gameplay's solid on all of them, but I haven't like felt the need to just like keep playing. But I feel like with Star Wars,
Well, that's the thing.
it's gonna be
even if the gameplay is on par with those others. When you add Star Wars to it, then it's enough to carry you through, even if it's not the greatest game.
I really wish these were painted, though. I mean,
I
that's
know.
the huge
That's-
draw
yeah,
of
I know.
X-Wing. X-Wing is just a beautiful game. And I'm willing to spend $20-$30 on a ship. I don't know if I'm willing to spend $20-$30 on a miniature that I would want to look fantastic painted.
Right, sure.
I mean, I'm one of those people that want to have the best. Obviously, we have an R2 that you've built yourself.
Oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned R2 here, have we?
just waiting for the audience to be like.
I mean,
what
you
is
can go
going on
buy
with
a
this?
crappy R2 off eBay, or you can build one yourselves.
Yeah, this
And
is
that's
Gary.
what I-
This
yeah.
is Gary's R2, by the way, everybody. He's in the process of getting close to finishing.
I'm really close. I just need to sit down and grind out the rest of it. But it's been a process of about 4 years.
Yeah.
Should have been less than that.
And a
but,
fair
I
amount
started
of dough,
playing-
right?
Yeah.
You
a
still
fair
play board
amount of
games, so
money,
that's-
yeah. But it's been,
happens.
I'm a member of the Droid Building Club. That's
Yeah.
worldwide. There's only one of them. And they're not kits. Everybody asks, is that a kit? No, it's not a kit.
and
you
it's
can't
legit
do it as a kit.
too, by the way. This is like
Oh yeah,
That is aluminum.
It's a real.
It's
That is
like
a-
real R2D2. This is not plastic. It's not. It's like the one you'd see in the movie.
It's a fully functioning, full-size R2D2, all the electronics and everything, even my hollow projectors, they will move. I got servos in my panels. They flap up and down to the music. I play music, and it's about this high. It weighs about a little over 200 pounds when it's fully done, and it's all aluminum. So
We've been pushing Gary to get this thing
it's
done
gonna get
for
done.
a year.
I know.
For about, and I brought this up before, and I'm sorry, Gary, to bring it up now in full view. But if R2 doesn't have jump jets in his boots and the ability to shoot oil all over the floor,
Would you believe it or not, there is a droid builder out there who has actually made those.
What?
And he's actually, I can purchase
do
them.
believe- that's
I don't have the
awesome.
money to purchase those right now.
does
'cause
it actually lift them up?
crazy.
they make legs, aluminum legs. They actually open up, the jets come out, and they have LEDs, a show, and they even have set them up to where smoke can come out.
it shows the-
wow.
And they can fold back up into the legs.
That is awesome.
that's
That's
awesome.
So that has actually been done.
It's pretty cool the amount of stuff you can do with this.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. My next big thing on it is actually have the periscope will come out at this panel right here, come up and spin around. It has lights and everything.
Is there gonna be a camera in it?
People actually do put cameras in the radar eye in the front for photography and stuff like that.
So if you haven't been able to figure this out, Gary's geeking out over this. This is a hardcore.
I know a
hobby
lot
for him,
about
for sure.
R2D2, maybe more than I need to know, but I know a lot about
When this
R2D2.
is done, can we get David to dress up as C-3PO and you can walk
Yes.
side by side?
You would fit the action.
Why do I have to dress up as C-3PO?
I'm not sure I could fit in the C-3PO costume.
Okay.
Speaking of R2D2, he's your favorite character, right?
You know, okay, he's probably 1B. I love Boba Fett.
Okay.
All right, I love Boba Fett, but I do love R2D2. Plus, the one thing is, there's been that theory been out there for years that maybe the whole Star Wars story is being told through the eyes or hollow projectors of R2. These are actually his eyes.
Because he's always
not the
been
radar.
He's always
around.
been there.
always been
present.
around, and that he may be Force aware. There were droids in the canon that were
What?
Force aware.
That's news to me.
Yeah,
I've heard
and-
the other part, but
Yeah,
that's news to
and
me.
there way before what there were droids that were Force aware, and there is theories out there that R2 is
Maybe
one of those
Yoda's
Force
inside
aware.
of him.
Yeah, right.
We've just hit a new high in geekitude here for sure. We're talking about an unrealistic, a real robot being Force aware. That's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Well, so what was your favorite character?
Favorite character? I mean, I could make the joke and say Jar Jar Binks, but I won't.
Don't make that joke. You just lost half our viewership.
You know, I don't really have a favorite character. It would be some obscure character like
The
you know,
rat.
well, no, like probably one of the characters from like Jabba's palace, like one of his just dirty henchmen, or one of the. You know what?
I've never heard this from you ever.
No, seriously, I don't like picking favorite characters that are like Han Solo and things like that because everyone loves Han Solo.
you can
Who doesn't
still-
like
still
Han
be your
Solo?
favorite.
He could still be your favorite.
That's true. But I'm sticking with like Dengar or something like that.
You know what? Dengar's awesome.
Hilarious. You know, I've got a lot of favorite characters, but I think mine's more a design. Like the Star Wars, the costume designers in that series are just, they speak to me. I love how they dress these characters. And I've always had a thing for, I don't know what they're called, because people call them different things, scout troopers or biker scouts.
Oh, yeah.
Biker scouts.
Those things are the coolest looking things I've ever seen. Besides the new TIE pilots. The new TIE pilots for the First Order look awesome. So those are my two favorite designs. Now, as far as characters, Luke Skywalker probably, just because of his story arc.
You know, speaking of like the costume design in Rogue One, I forget what they're called. You see them kind of there at the beginning.
The Dark Troopers?
No, they got the mask on because they can't breathe normal air. It's poison to them.
Oh,
they kind of have like there's two of them. They got like things coming out of their necks.
Are these the guys that work for Saw?
Yes.
Yeah,
and they grab the
I don't know what they're
the
called.
pilot guy.
Oh,
and they take
yeah,
him
those looked pretty awesome.
Those are pretty cool.
We
looking.
will throw it up at the bottom of
Yes.
the screen for sure.
The grittiness of the way they made those guys look, like that looks so cool.
Like
That is
they've
not
been on that planet
cartoony.
for years,
And
yeah.
I love how they do that.
What about you?
I get a lot of flack for this from people
God.
that I don't think just
It's a
understand
porg.
it. No, it's I mean
Wicket.
Kylo Ren, like far and away, like
pretty cool.
I
No,
just
Kylo Ren is good.
a lot of people are like, oh, he was so emo, or like he wasn't that he couldn't fight with a lightsaber, and I'm like, well, yeah, he didn't even finish his training with Luke, like, but the fact that the first moment you see Kylo when he walks off his ship and he's just in complete control, like everything stops, he's in complete control, he freezes the blaster bolt
That's
in
pretty
midair, which nobody has
That was
done
pretty
that.
wild the first time we
And
saw
so like,
that.
I see that and I'm like, I don't like this guy has just an amazing amount of force power. He doesn't know how to control it very well. He's angry, which you know,
I think
he's
that
young,
I
he's
think that in
angry,
this new
he's-
trilogy he's going to have the most interesting story.
and that's why I see so much potential.
Yeah,
for sure.
So much potential for his character to grow, and even in the trailers for Last Jedi, we've been seeing hints of some sort of changes happening with his character. And I think for like the story that they're telling with this character is by far, I think, the most interesting.
Yeah,
me.
I agree. I think he gets a lot of flack for being emo and all that. But like you said, that moment where he seems like he's in complete control, I think the cool thing about his character is that we all know he's not in
Right.
control.
No, personally,
it's a
but he has
facade
this-
that he's putting on to make sure people think he's in
And
control.
everybody's
But
everybody's scared of him. is
yeah,
the thing,
everyone's
right?
scared of him, but he is clearly out of control, as
Right.
evidenced by so many scenes where he's bashing the heck out of the ship.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see his relationship with Luke and his relationship with Snoke as it plays out over the next two movies.
Two more topics. First one, we're going to talk about Star Wars video games.
Yeah.
Talk about your favorite one, and then we'll talk about the games we've played in the past week. Board games we've played.
Maybe three more topics. We need to talk about Last Jedi a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But favorite video game?
Star Wars related.
Ryan,
looking at
go
me
ahead.
first?
Keep
Yeah,
going.
Sure.
I'm gonna not
Before-
even talk about this because it's everyone's favorite, and we're all gonna love it. But the older, like Knights of the Old Republic, of course, is awesome. But I want to talk about Dark Forces, actually, which was the first 3D Star Wars game I ever played, and it blew me away when I played Dark Forces for the
This
full,
was back
first
in
time.
sort of just after Quake sort of days,
No,
right?
I don't think this was like just after Doom.
Oh.
Like
It was in that same time frame.
they basically based it off of Doom, and I mean it was early 90s, and Doom was cool. When I played Doom for the first time, I was like, I can move around and shoot in 3D. But in Dark Forces, man, breaking into the Death Star, shooting those stormtroopers for the first time, seeing the Imperial officers and their, it was crappy graphics, but they looked like they
at the
did in the
time
movie.
though, it was pretty spectacular.
And so it just really felt, and the music and the sound effects was all there, and it was the first time I've had that experience.
Yeah.
And so I played Dark Forces, man, over and over and over when I was a kid. Just loved that game.
What about you, Gary?
Well, I'm going to go way back. I know there's people out there that know this game. But my first video game was Atari 2600, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And you flew your little A-Wing.
The snow speeder.
Snowspeeder.
The snow speeders, the snow speeders,
Yeah, the
fighting
AT-ATs.
the AT-ATs, or the
Yeah.
AT-ATs, I mean.
Was that the entire game?
That was the entire game,
I think
and they would
so.
turn color. They would
They would
start
blink
white,
and then
they
blink
would
and then blink.
and go like turn to blue and purple when you're about to. I think I destroyed 20 of them. I still didn't hit the end.
Isn't it crazy?
I don't think it
that's
does
the
end.
I
entire
don't think
game.
it's like the ET game.
Right.
Can you imagine now if somebody bought a game, because that was probably $50 when it came out.
Yeah,
A
probably.
free app wouldn't be downloaded if it did that, other than for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're going to have a theme here. I don't know about you, but I'll go next. Mine is old school, too. I really enjoyed did you guys play the Super Star Wars series?
Oh, yeah.
The SNES?
Yeah.
Those games
Those were good.
were really, really good for me. That's one thing. The one that I loved the most, though, on the PC was the X-Wing
Oh, of
series.
course.
Yeah.
Like, I played Lucas Arts, which was a Lucasfilm game company back in the day. They had a game called Battle of Britain, which was like a World War II flight simulator combat game. And the original X-Wing game felt very, very much like the sequel to that, but in Star Wars.
Right.
So it recreated the dogfighting like no other game I played. Like Wing Commander was out, and everyone loved Wing Commander, but I loved X-Wing.
Yeah,
That's
there's
because
a
you're
TIE
also
fighter.
in that
There was
universe,
the,
too.
the,
Being in
the
that
TIE
universe
fighter
is
one,
huge.
too.
Oh yeah, they just kept getting better
What
with
was-
those X-Wing, and then there was X-Wing and
Versus
TIE Fighter.
TIE Fighter.
Yeah,
TIE Fighter,
Yeah.
yeah.
There was nothing will compare really, like the moment you first like are flying in the X-Wing up to the Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And you see the, and it's just,
And it's massive.
Yeah, and it's
I
like
mean, it
the
was this
scale of
huge.
it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. I loved X-Wing. I haven't played it. I mean, I haven't played it since college.
Fantastic game. As you said, Knights of the Old Republic is one of the best RPGs ever made. It's told a great story. They need to make Darth Revan a canon character because his storyline is so good in that game. Also want to make mentions to two others. Star Wars Rebellion. I know people think that this is based just off of a board game, but Star Wars Rebellion was a PC game years ago, probably 20 years ago. It was kind of a 4X style game, which you could send R2 and C3 and Han off to missions. It was a wonderful game. And then also one other mention, Battlefront 2,
Yeah,
which
the
is
old
getting all
Battlefront 2,
kinds
right?
of
Or you
hate
mean the
right
new
now,
one?
and I understand the hate in that game, but the story in the game, if you played the single player story, it is incredible. It's got beautiful graphics. It ties in the end of Return of the Jedi into The Force Awakens.
All
and
that
it's-
whole distance.
Yep.
yeah, and it's
Oh, wow.
it's incredibly cinematic the way it's told, and you get to meet Han, you get to see the relation between Han and Maz Kanata.
Spoiler alert.
And you get to see Luke and a lot of the things that are happening and why they happen a specific way. There's even some possible spoilery that Rey could be a byproduct of some of the characters. And I know it's probably not possible,
buy it,
and I don't
but
think Disney
you've been
would go
through it
that
too.
route.
Yeah,
I don't
I've
think
been through
Disney
it.
would go that route, but they very much allude to that being a possibility.
And you know what? There's a lot of hate out there, but if you're a Star Wars fan,
You have to play
just
the
go
single
play
player.
Battlefront 2. Even the multiplayer mode, when you're even just like a rebel trooper running to garrison, you know, when all the stormtroopers run, like it feels like
beautiful.
You're in Star Wars. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Lasers flying by your head, X-wings flying in the sky, shooting down TIE fighters.
Yeah,
TIE
it
fighters
looks-
crash.
Even the original one looked amazing. This one's even better looking.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, if you've heard about the hate and that's turning you off, the hate's all about the revenue model that
Right.
EA had. It has nothing really to do with the game itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has
It's
the
revenue.
PvP part
Yeah.
side of it.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I'm not going to spend any more money on it than I spent to buy it.
Sure.
And I'm sure a lot of people out there are the same way. Just enjoying the game. And
Yeah,
like,
it's plenty good game
just-
for that.
So I would like to borrow yours.
I'll borrow it after he borrows it.
Games we've played. We've been playing a lot of board games lately. Quite a few. Let's
Yeah.
talk about. Let's just each talk about one that we've played.
Are we
that
going back?
stuck out.
Getting off Star Wars
I'll
first?
go
Yeah,
first.
this is our Star Wars intermission. We'll
yeah.
get back to it in a second, but
I'll
what have
go
we been
first. We
playing?
played Heaven and Ale, and that is a fantastic Euro-style game. We actually have a review coming out very soon. We filmed it today. We should have it up in a couple days. The theme doesn't. I've heard people knocking about the theme.
Yeah, the theme is not. I mean, there's a theme there, but it certainly it could be anything, and the theme kind of goes out the window once you start playing.
Very simple to play. A lot of meaty decisions
Oh,
on
it's
how you
awesome.
approach the game. I loved it, and
Yeah.
great graphic design. Looks like a Euro. Plays like a Euro.
Yeah, it's a
is a
beautiful
Euro.
Yeah.
So I will mention one that we literally just played a couple hours ago,
Yeah.
and that's Pulsar 2849.
Oh my gosh.
This one we heard about as early as Origins this year.
Yeah.
They had a demoing there, in
They
fact.
did, mhm.
And then Paul Grogan was on our set during Gen Con, also talked about it. We got a copy, I don't know, a couple weeks ago? Not long ago.
Maybe a month ago. but
Not
yeah.
long ago. And this thing is a really good dice drafting game with, talk about decisions.
Yeah.
The decisions that you have in front of you in this game, there's so many things you can do, so many different ways to score your points. It's a lot of fun. And it has a couple cool little mechanics that I've never seen before. There's a point where you're drafting your die, and it actually adjusts these two scales that everyone's on that it affect player order in the following round, and then also some rewards that you can
cues
get
you
at the
get.
end of each round. So depending on which die you take on this sort of spectrum, it moves the dial back and forth on these. It's really, really cool.
Really quick playing game too.
Oh, yeah, it moves really, really fast.
Yep.
Point salad.
Oh, very much so.
Definitely
Yeah.
point
Very
salad.
much so.
It's it's not the. I won't get too much into the review. We're gonna have a review of this up very soon too.
Yeah.
But it's not the prettiest looking game in the world.
Yeah.
But the gameplay is fantastic.
Yep.
I picked up. Well, I had it shipped over from Europe, but I got Michael Strogoff. I mentioned it in our Essen show, so I picked that, and you and I played that,
Yep.
and I think you guys have
We
played it.
I've played it a lot now.
Yeah. And, you know, I actually I enjoyed it. It was really fun. It's got some really cool puzzly aspect in terms of, you know, as these cards come out and you got to fight off bad things that are happening to you on your journey, which when you read the rulebook, in the back of the rulebook, it tells every place you go to what's happening in the book.
Yeah, that is a really cool feature
And
of the rulebook.
so you almost get really, so it's very thematic.
Yeah.
So,
Not an IP I've ever heard of either.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting is it's an IP that it's like so weird
Right.
that it's interesting.
Right,
Like I
exactly.
wanted to learn more because I'd never heard of it before.
If you can't sign Star Wars, sign Michael Strogoff.
That's
Sign
right.
Jules Verne.
That's right. It's the next best. It's the next best thing to Star Wars.
What you got?
Since I got it last week, I have logged over 15 plays of Azul.
That's crazy.
That game is it's so good. I mean, it is, and it's quick. You're talking like 30 minutes max probably for a game. And when I brought it home, my wife and I sat down and we played it probably 5 times in a row right then. Like normally she's like, okay, I tried it. I'm good. But like this was one where she was like, okay, one more game. And
Right.
I'm getting trashed at it, by the way. But it's so much fun that I don't really. Doesn't really matter to me how bad I lose because I love the game so much.
That game's getting so much love everywhere. Even I've noticed in Europe, just reading through BGG, and also here in America. You think that game could win the Spiel des Jahres?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
When we
Yeah.
did our review of it a while ago, I said I can't. I'll be shocked if it's not in the
It
conversation.
has to be in the top 3.
It's got to be, and I'd put my money on it for sure. I love the game.
Yeah.
It's simple yet elegant. It's easy to learn, but you have to make so many tough decisions every turn.
Have you guys played with the other side of the
Oh yeah,
board much?
we mostly only play with the advanced side now.
It
and
makes it a different sort of
it's
game.
hard.
For
You can
sure.
you can really
mess yourself up.
You really can.
And make sure if you guys like Azul, that's by Michael Kiesling. He also did Heaven and Ale, which
Yeah.
we just
Oh
played.
yeah, that's right.
Kiesling's
He's
going to
this is his
town.
year.
I mean,
Riverboat
there's so
too,
many
right?
things.
Yeah.
What's that?
Riverboat, isn't that?
Yep.
Kiesling?
Riverboat's a Kiesling.
And there's
as well.
another one, Reworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is-
Keisling and Kramer that came out at Essen. He's killing it this
so
year.
Yeah, he's had a good year.
He's putting them out for sure.
Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's time to
wanna
talk
talk
about
about-
The Last Jedi. This is movie time. This is the last episode of Chit Chat
Before.
prior to us seeing The Last Jedi. So
Yeah.
we're going to do a little nerdy speculation here. Just so you all know, whenever we're not talking about board games, we're generally
Star Wars.
talking about The Last Jedi. This is going to get super nerdy here in a second, so check it
Not
out.
already.
Yeah, we're not already crossing that line.
If we haven't crossed that line already. So, Last Jedi speculation, or
man.
even just conversation.
Let
What are
me-
you guys
Well, I'll
thinking?
start. It's going off something Andy Serkis said not too long ago. Snoke is not Sith.
Yeah. I heard that.
It is.
So what did
said
he
it.
say?
He said it specifically. He goes, he is not Sith. He is on the dark end and uses the dark end of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
He said he is full of arthritis.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and he's crumbly, and which shows he's got a great vulnerability, which we don't know yet, but he has such intense hate that he can use that
Wonder if
as
he
some sort of
has
a power.
So that's-
fibromyalgia too.
And there was somebody made a great point that I heard, so I'm not going to take credit for this. It's like, because maybe this is where they were trying to take Star Wars, because the first order is like the new evolution. And Snoke has sat back and said, you know what, Vader and Palpatine couldn't do it. Why would I want to keep repeating what they've been doing? I'm going to do something different.
And what is that different
We
thing?
don't
though?
know what that difference is, but we do know that he's not Darth Plagueis, he said.
Really?
And,
I
yeah,
never bought into that.
Yeah, that's
anyway.
true. They also said
But
that the guy, Benedict Cumberbatch wasn't Khan before.
No,
starting
I
that
to
is
do
here's
true,
the
but
pro-
we doubt. He did say, he goes, that's all I can say about it, but that is what
Here's
he
the
said.
problem I see. There's a lot of talk about Grey Jedi and about Snoke not being a Sith. I love that part of the canon. I love having good versus evil, light versus dark. If we go to a Grey Jedi and a gray scale, that's okay, and I like what it's trying to do, but I also will miss that good and evil
Yeah.
portion of it.
Sith is like a very specific thing, though. So that
Yeah,
that
but
doesn't mean he's any less evil. It just means he's not part of the formal order. Like
Okay,
he's
so
not.
so tell me, if Voldemort was just kind of playing on the evil side, but he wasn't truly evil. Would have made him a better villain.
But what I mean
No, it
is,
made him a
I think
worse
Voldemort
one.
was just misunderstood.
no, but
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying
mean,
is that Snoke could be truly evil without being a Sith. I mean, a Sith is a specific type of Force wielder.
this.
You know,
I think to answer your question, I think it's not so much that there's still ends of the spectrum. There is still good and evil. I just think there's going to be a lot more they're going to delve more into the in-between there.
So what do you think the revelation is that Luke finds that could possibly change his mind? If in fact
I
this
think
is
he
what we're
finds the
talking
truth about the Jedi,
And what is
probably.
that truth though? Like what do you think he will find?
Honestly, and they say, I've heard, people have said that some of the stuff revealed in Last Jedi will change the way you view the entire Star Wars universe.
I've read that too.
I just recently read that.
And Adam Driver, who plays Kylo Ren, also said that The Force Awakens refers to Kylo Ren just as much as it does to Rey.
Yeah.
So
sure.
So there's still that speculation out there. It would be hard for me to see Disney do this because of what they've done to the female character, but actually have Rey go to the dark side. Kylo's the one that ends up being on the light
I
side.
would love that.
I would love it.
I would love that.
I would love it
awesome
if
for them to do that.
Luke's jaded bitterness pushes her to the dark side, whereas Kylo is seeking redemption for what he's done and crosses over. But to the previous point about Luke and the Jedi, there's a gripping line in the trailer. If everybody's probably seen the trailer where Luke says it's time for the Jedi to end. And I think that the Jedi organization itself has proven to be nothing but harmful all the way back. If you look even before the events of Episode 1, the Jedi Order itself is responsible for most of what has happened in the universe, right? They were responsible for the rise of Palpatine. They were responsible for the First Order.
Yeah, I think they might be going in this direction. The whole sort of concept of there is no real evil without the good. You know, they both kind of have to feed off of one another for either of them to exist. If they go like you said, with Rey going dark and Kylo maybe waffling back towards the light, if they do that, I would imagine that in the end, they won't be dark or light, and the two of them will represent that middle. That
See,
gray.
again, I
To
can't.
me, that'd be really boring.
I know you
I
think
agree.
that
I
way.
can't-
cheap
I
way
can't
out.
imagine. I can't imagine going to a toy store and buying a figure that says Force user instead of saying Jedi Knight. Like,
Right.
there's something very iconic about the Jedi and the Sith.
Right.
It needs to remain there, and I find it hard to believe they're going to go to a gray area.
Well, remember
that
that-
obscures those.
But what I'm saying is I don't think it necessarily means it's just gray. There are people that walk on both sides, and then there's still Jedi Knight. There's still, just like, I mean, it's also sort of representative of a lot of sort of what's going on in the world and politics and views on religion, where it's not always just black and white. And I think there'll be people who kind of walk the middle. I mean, that's just kind of like what they've done in Rebels, right? With
Ezra?
Ezra, but is it Kanan? He's more of a, kind of walks both sides from time to time. He doesn't go too evil. He doesn't go too light. He sees both sides of the coin.
And you have to look at it from Luke's point of view, too, where Luke is the last Jedi, even though he never never completed his training to even be a Jedi. So he tried to bring back the Jedi Order. Like, that was his goal, and it failed spectacularly. Like that, I mean, his students turned on him.
that will be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see what the Knights of Ren are.
So
too.
obviously, like,
Yeah.
it was a failure on his part to reboot the Jedi Order. So from his point of view, it's like there is no more Jedi Order. It's just me. But there's always the potential for someone like Kylo or Rey to pick up that burden and say, well, then the new Jedi Order starts with me, basically.
Yeah. Well, so let's step out of the nerdy area and talk about this from a movie standpoint. What's your guys' expectations about the movie? Do you think we're going to leave this movie? Is your hunch that you're going to like it better than The Force Awakens?
I think
Where do you
so.
think this movie's going to land with you guys in terms of
I have
the
a feeling
history
it's
in
going to be
Star Wars?
really. It's going to be like walking out of Empire Strikes Back.
Well, that's the hope, right?
that's the
That's
case,
what I think. You're going to walk out and be like,
that's
holy
the
crap.
bar.
Why
Yeah.
what?
In fact, that's the formula.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's
Exactly.
the
Do they
formula of a
follow
lot
the formula? Are they going to change this up? And if they do, not only just formula canon-wise, but formula like, wow, okay, this movie just went from New Hope to Empire that Strikes Back, which was huge. It really expanded where that story was.
There's definitely the potential for this movie to be exciting and surprising for the reason that The Force Awakens was exciting because it was a new chapter in Star Wars that wasn't done by Lucas, being done by someone who was passionate about the series, but we were being introduced to a bunch of things, so we knew nothing. Now that we know, our question is, what's going to happen? Who is Snoke? Who's Rey's parents? What's happening to Luke? All these questions, if they're answered in the right way, could be stunning. And it could be. Now we're looking for the twist, which we weren't looking for in The Force Awakens.
Which there will be. I mean, there will be a twist.
I do think.
I've heard it's dark.
I do think it's likely that there's more of a twist in this film than what we've ever seen before in any other Star Wars
That's what I've been.
film.
A lot of the rumor mill I've been saying is like,
well,
you will not see this coming. It will probably devastate you a little bit.
Which is like, again, I think the first movie got a lot of flack for being too much like A New Hope. I think this movie, in a very macro sense, will fill the same role that Empire Strikes Back fills, but it will feel like a very different type of film than Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. All the interviews I've been seeing, everyone talks. All the actors will say, Ryan has really put his mark on this. Ryan Johnson, the director. So I really feel like it's going to feel maybe not as much like a Star Wars film like we all traditionally feel, but maybe, hopefully, in a good way.
I don't know. I disagree with that, actually, because if you look at the production problems that have been going on with like Han Solo and Episode 9, Abrams is back to take on 9, and they replaced the director of Han Solo because they weren't following the vision
with Ron Howard.
They had for the movies. They didn't feel enough like Star Wars. Yet Rian Johnson, they just gave him a new trilogy to do. So like that's the opposite. So that makes me believe that they are not only are they like loving Last Jedi, but they have so much faith in what he did there.
Oh no, I agree. I think
to tell a Star Wars story that they're giving him a whole other trilogy to do.
But I think my hunch is though that he's pulled off something that feels different. Like an evolution of what we've seen, so
which
it's
is
different
what
enough.
Needs to happen.
Yeah. From a business standpoint, they need to keep things going.
But in terms just in the canon, just the story itself, the end of this, probably the last 15 minutes of this movie coming up is going to. This is the new world of the Star Wars. Where this is going to go.
There's a lot of conflicting stories and confusion about the new Star Wars story too, because as you said, Rian Johnson's going to do a new trilogy. Kathleen Kennedy has said we will see these characters again. We'll see Poe and Finn and Rey. But then we have people like Daisy Ridley saying she's done with Star Wars after Episode 9. And again, these people lied, and not because they're trying to lie to us, because they're trying to hide information. Right. But if Daisy is truly speaking and saying I'm done with it after this, she could die. She could become a Sith. I mean, so that storyline could happen that particular way.
Well, also the new trilogy is supposed to take place in a part of the Marvel universe. Part of the Star Wars universe.
That is a bold difference.
That's a crossover happening. Well, my mind's on Disney right now. So I heard that the new trilogy is taking place in a part of the Star Wars universe that's never really been explored.
That's cool, though.
I don't know that it would make sense for them to maybe it'll be Lando. Like characters like Lando might show up.
Again, it's going to be hard watching a Star Wars movie without Jedi in it. Rogue One was fine. But that was a one-shot series. I want to see my Jedi.
Well, nobody said that it's not that it won't have Jedi.
I think the Force will always be there for sure.
Because I would love.
Although the Force wasn't really in Rogue One.
No. But I mean, in the
new
sort
trilogy,
like the
four trilogies, I think the Force will always be present. I mean, it's the main one signal.
It'll be sad though when the Skywalker series is done.
And that's what
if it's replaced with a Revan.
Skywalker series is done after Episode 9.
Yeah.
If they do an Old Republic trilogy,
that's what I'm hoping for.
Where you've got Jedi, huge battles of Jedi versus Sith, like that.
Even if it was a one-off movie, I would love it.
Kind of like the arena in Clone Wars.
There
you go.
Except
better.
Except the way it's supposed to look.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Well, anyway, we'll be seeing this as you see this. What is it? About 2 weeks out from when you're going to be watching this episode.
2 weeks from today.
14 days.
2 weeks from today that it comes out.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks from today.
Super excited. We're all going to be there at 6 p.m. on that Thursday night, the 14th, right?
Yeah.
And then I know we've talked about this already. I've already got my tickets for that Saturday. I think you've got more tickets for that night.
We're watching again with
probably
some of our
twice.
friends.
Yeah.
Wow. So, anyways, hopefully you'll be out there to check it out yourself. Thanks again for tuning in to our 7th episode of Chit Chat. Check us out on our social media, Twitter, Facebook, all that, and we'll catch you guys next time.
May the Force be with you.
and we'll catch you guys next time.
May the force be with you.
Cut before that. That was.
Nobody said it all episode.
No, what I'm going to do, I'm going to
Hit stop on.